Camera number 250 of 365 is the Nikon F3HP, one of my favourite cameras, so that's why I've left it for 250th camera. Although it requires batteries, two LR44 batteries to power both the shutter and the meter, it does have a manual shutter, which is activated with this separate button. So if we just wind the camera, there we go, and we have a separate button. There we go. But let's just put batteries in it first of all so that we can fully benefit from the camera. So we have two LR44 batteries in the battery cradle, and the positive is facing out so that it goes in to the camera. And then while we're tightening that up, you'll see that, let's do this side, there's also a tripod mount and provision to fit a motor wind. And then we have the button where my thumb is that allows us to disconnect the film advance so that we can rewind our film back into our canister. So let's just run through the functions here of some of the buttons. So we have a button which is lens release, and the Nikon F3 pretty much takes any of the Nikon lenses that have a aperture ring. So autofocus, which has a aperture ring, can be used on this, but of course you can only manually focus it. We then have a flash sync port, and the flash itself has to be mounted on a separate adapter that sits over the film rewind crank here, and then you can mount the flash and then connect it. And then we have, going back to the manual release, that also doubles up as a memory lock for the exposure. And then the next button above is the film preview button. Sorry, I'm knocking the camera here. And then also doubles up as a, if we push the button in, a mirror lock up as well. There we go. A light that activates when the self timer is on. So let's just put the self timer on, and we do that with around the collar of the film of the shutter speeds, which incidentally go from 1/2000th of a second down to 8 seconds and beyond. If we move the little lever here, revealing a red button, that then can be used to activate the, of course we have to turn it on, and we turn it on as well. There's lots of safety features here. So around the collar of the film advance is the on-off switch, and then once we activate that, we can see the red light for the self timer. There we go. So let's just put the lens back on. Sorry, I'm keep knocking the camera, I do apologise. So that's pretty much all the functions on the front here. So looking at the top plate, we've mentioned the film rewind crank and the flash. The film speeds are set by the rotating the collar, and then this button here locks the collar, which also doubles up as a exposure compensation, +2, -2, but you have to press that down. So let's just put it back to 0. I mentioned the shutter speeds and the self timer, the on-off switch. We also have a separate multiple exposure button or lever, and then our film advance and film counter. Looking through the viewfinder, we get, I don't know if I can show you that actually. We get our aperture, and then our film speeds, sorry, our shutter speeds are shown through a liquid crystal display. To lift the rewind crank, we again have another lock, another safety feature, which then allows us to put our film into our camera. Okay. Okay. I think that's pretty much it in terms of features. Of course, the F3, like its predecessors, the F2, F1, were very modular, so we can actually take the head off, if I can do that without knocking the camera, by pressing these two little and then lifting up, and then that allows us to change our screen if we want to. Again, there was a number of screens that you could use to change that. On the head itself, there is a little lever for a film blind when we're doing long exposures, and there's also a little light switch that illuminates, I believe, actually it's on the camera itself. Unfortunately mine doesn't work, but if we press this little red button here where my thumb is, that activates a light in low light and allows us to see, or lights up the liquid crystal display, but as I say, it doesn't work on my particular version. Film memo, I think I mentioned that. Very bright viewfinder, very nice experience. We mentioned it's modular. If we add the, whoops, sorry, looking the tent over. If we look at the, or we can add a motor wind, a motor drive MD4, and we do that by taking the little cap off. See if I can do that. And then that reveals the electrical contacts, and then we have the actual motor wind there, and we can put it on doing very well here. It's very difficult when you're, there we go. Can I do that? There we go. And you can see it's slightly tilted. Apparently that's to do with the balance. If we use long lenses, it does actually balance. The motor wind itself takes 8 AA batteries, and we have a little light that indicates that it's okay in terms of power. So there we go. We can choose, well, there isn't any choice actually, there's just one shutter speed, move on for the winder, but that's obviously dictated here by this button. We can choose single or continuous. There we go, and then there's the film counter there. So there we go, that's just a very quick overview of the Nikon F3HP, and that has been camera number 250 of 365.